can say it. You can say that. Right.
Because we just talking about, like, so my pronunciation of my first name is Jatali.
Okay, Jatali. I got you.
Because she says it with the thigh.
I can throw the accent on it. Jatali. I got this.
Bars.
Bars, right.
Bars. I don't got much faith in him either. So like she's like, I don't know.
Wait till I start hitting you with the English accent, isn't it?
Oh, no.
We are the Morning Hustle.
What's good, baby? It's the Morning Hustle with L'Oreal and Kyle Santillian. And of course, our door is always open for guests. And our guest this week is our Hustler of the Week.
Yeah.
Doing big things in the community, helping people get their money right, their finances together. Dr. Jatali Bellanton is here this morning.
Yeah. Dr. J.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. J, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm excited. This is such great energy in this room, so I'm happy.
Thank you,
so
man.
even
Thank
if you didn't know anything, we invited you here to talk. Because we love your accent.
Okay, so, all right, brilliant. Just make sure if you're in the UK, you want to be successful, just come to America with an accent.
Right. You're already winning. Look at Idris. All right, so Dr. J is here, and you educate people with financial information. You have an organization called Kids Who Bank, Brilliant Minds Unite.
Love that.
Talk a little bit just about what the foundations and organizations do and how you help people with their money.
So after being 22 years in finance, 15 years corporate professionally, we left corporate space to create a financial literacy curriculum to teach youth and adults everything from NILs to how to diversify their portfolio into things like art, tax mitigation the legal way, as well as just ensuring that they also knew that they are supposed to be an abundance mindset and actually have wealth, right? Because I feel like lots of people use money as a coping mechanism, and the list continues. So how do we shift that? And I was like, as a person in finance who's managed wealth, did 3.1 billion at one point, I just know that there's certain mistakes that everyone makes, and it didn't matter if you were worth 700 million or if you were worth 100,000. There were certain foundational issues like using money as a coping mechanism that a lot of people had, or just budgeting, right? Oh, I'm making more money now, I'm gonna just go buy a boat because it's just that simple. But yeah, you can afford the boat, but can you afford the paint to maintain the boat? Can you afford where you have to dock it? And the fact that some places is $100,000 a month to just dock your boat. So, it's just, as we get more money, they say more money, more problems. I live in New York, so shout out to Biggie. But, realistically, that's what that is, yeah?
And I love hearing your side of things because we talk to different people that talk to us about finances and stuff like that. But one thing that really the light bulb that went off in my head, because I'm interested in this, and that's art. So it's very rare that I hear when people come and talk to us that they bring up art when it comes to finances. Why is art something that may be important when it comes to that?
So not just maybe, it's definitely important. And the reason why I say that is because most people around the world, we utilize music and art in different ways to also just increase our wealth, but also our happiness. So sometimes it's just most people, when you enter a home, whether you're staging a home as a real estate agent, or if you're a person who's just a collector who wants to increase, buy something that appreciates and value, art is usually the common denominator. It also keeps you in track of different cultures where they were at one point in time. So some art is more like, let's say like my friend went to Egypt and came back with a scroll because he wanted to be able to be like, you know what, I went to Egypt and I actually have a real life scroll. And then, someone else, a friend of mine went to Italy and she was able to buy some art that was from an artist that, hundreds of thousands of people have only seen this art. And, someone sees a Basquiat, that is Black excellence when it comes to art. So when you have these pieces of time in your home, you might buy something for $5,000, $10,000, but who knows, in less than 100 years, in less than a lifetime, you're able to see that $100,000 or $10,000 go to 100,000, 100 go into $1 million, and now you see Basquiat's being sold for millions of dollars around the world. That's a Black man.
That's the kind of money I could put something behind, because y'all had the NFTs and I wasn't going for it. That can disappear, but this I'm holding in my hand.
It can't really disappear because realistically, it's really about what is backing that particular piece of art. So if you're buying a piece of art that is backed by hype, like when Elon Musk told everybody to go buy baby Doge and everyone ran and bought it.
Yeah.
That's a meme crypto. The same way we're not supposed to buy a meme stock just because someone said this is the hottest stock of the week. If you didn't do your own research, I don't want to hear you complain when it tanks.
When it crashes.
Because
Right.
everything you're supposed to DYOR, which is do your own research. And so in the crypto space, NFT space, the same thing. Certain NFTs have functionality and utility. What does that mean? That means you buy it and it's not just about the art. It might unlock access to like an airport lounge area. It might give you access to an exclusive fund where Black people can get funding for their businesses. There's just so many different levels to the NFT game. It's just not the surface level of what you see.
That's what it is. I've seen the surface, like Chris Brown or whoever lost all that money when they purchased the
monkeys.
artwork. Yeah, the monkeys.
The monkeys. I mean, like, the cool thing about the monkeys was that they do host parties. So if your goal was to be in a room with influencers and celebrities where there's no red carpet between you and everyone's in the same room chilling just because you own this particular monkey, then it paid its value for you in that mannerism. But if you were buying it because you were like, oh, I bought this for, $10,000, I wanted to go to $3 million, then you might be a little bit disappointed.
How can somebody with all the different cryptocurrencies and NFTs that are out there, is there a central place where you can go and learn about each one?
I mean, well, shout out to myself first.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, but
Brilliant mind,
I mean, so to give you an example, shout out to Earn Your Leisure. I was
just here.
They were just brilliant. I didn't even know that. So shout out to Troy, Rashad, Michael. I did a workshop for them, which was for their orientation class. It's 2 hours of just basics on metaverse, blockchain, crypto. If you don't watch that video for at least a basic understanding with visuals and real life examples, you're playing yourself. If you don't understand it, that video alone gives you so much free game. 15 minutes a day or per hour segment till you finish it, get to it. By the time you walk away, you'll have a good fundamental.
Yeah.
And then I will say there are people like Gary Vee, who I must admit gives a lot of good valuable information, but then be mindful that he's also always pushing his products. So when he's telling you to buy a product, you might be like, okay, pause on that. But when he's giving you the fundamentals as to how play to earn, like where you could play metaverse games and actually make money in real life, money that can be converted to dollars or whatever currency you're in the world, then that's something that you pay attention to, in my opinion.
And that's scary because I bring this up when we talk to a lot of people that are like self-made through this. And it's because I've seen a lot of scamming go on in the space. I'm not even going to lie, and I'm not trying to be funny at all. I've spoken to a lot of people and I've learned more talking to you in 5 minutes than I've learned even going to a Bitcoin convention, which is outrageous to me. So is there like different ways of learning this that maybe it wasn't getting through to me through these guys? And because I just feel like you just told us something that I had no idea.
So I'll say 3 things. The first thing I will say is the scamming is across the market. If there is any way to make money, there's going to be someone who wants your money more than you want your own money. And on that note,
I can see that.
If that's the case, then they're going to find every hustle to get to it. It's just like when you go to Target and you swipe your debit card, and next thing you know, someone in like Ohio is buying a TV with your debit card number. Meanwhile, you're like in Atlanta, and you're like, how is someone in Ohio? So there's always a scammer who's coming up with different ways to steal your money from different cities. Hackers who are ready to go on Bank of America's website. Well, not even, in fact, I'll say Chase. Recently, we saw Chase have a hacker situation where people's social security numbers were like just taken. And so, no disrespect to Chase, but we're just speaking the facts. So there's always a hustler who's ready in every market to do it. The one thing I will say about the crypto blockchain space is that it is very protected in the sense that you actually have to sign something, a waiver that gives permission, like a wallet, access to your wallet. Right? So there's contracts. It's a viral blockchain contract. And when a hacker is trying to get your money, they'll try to make it look like a real website. So like, let's say you're going to go to, metamask.io. You might not realize because you're so used to .com that it's supposed to be .io. And then you'll go to metamask.com, and a hacker created a website that looks almost exactly like the real one. And they'll be like, sign this contract to give us access to your wallet address. And the contract literally would be like, this is a scam to take your money.
And it says it in the contract.
Says it in the contract, but most people don't read the full contract because it's usually lengthy. And it will tell you like for the next 3 weeks, we'll be able to have access to take as much money you have in your account. But you sign that contract. So one of the things, and even sometimes those websites that are safe will sometimes get hacked. And then, if you had left your wallet open to them, it's like when you sign on to Bank of America or any website, Wells Fargo, whoever you have, if you have a bank account, when you leave that website, you're supposed to sign out. There's a way to sign out when you leave all of these blockchain websites as well. You're supposed to log out. Most people don't take that extra step on these different platforms to log out.
That's making me think too.
Hacked, you're like, well, guess what? You never logged out, so you open yourself to that.
That's crazy.
Right? And even when you look at other platforms like KYC, know your client platforms like Coinbase, you know, everyone's like, well, I'll leave my money on there, I'm safe. But I'm like, are you really? Because you don't actually own your private key. What does that mean? When you don't own your private key, it means that someone else has full control of your crypto. So Coinbase, to give an example, if they file bankruptcy, they can automatically take all of your crypto. So
like overnight, if they go bankrupt, done.
Overnight, they could take all of your crypto unless you pay $30 a month for crypto insurance. So they charge you a fee to buy the crypto. They charge you a fee to do certain transactions. And then they charge you $30 if you want to be able to protect it to a certain amount of money with the FDIC.
You ain't even got to scam them. Just open a Coinbase. I'm about to do that.
What do you say to people that are still kind of skeptical even about getting in a crypto space right now? Because a lot of people, you know, went in when the pandemic happened and everything rose and then the world opened back up but dropped back down. And some people are still like, nah, I don't even believe in it yet.
So I'll say three things. A few years back, you know, I'm an 80s baby. I'm about to hit 40. So just to put it out there, you know, I've been in the game for a bit.
How old?
I'm about to be 40 soon.
40?
Next year. Sorry.
She said 40.
So, you know, when we look at that, one of the main things I will tell you when you're looking at this space is that I came from a time frame in which, keeping in mind, and just, you know, 79, we started getting the first big blocky cell phones, and people said that wasn't gonna last. Now we have these little tiny cell phones. The first, if I'm not mistaken, 1975 was the first laptop, right? And now we can do databasing and everything from my cell phone. You know, at one point the Walkman, I think the Walkman came out in 79. Shout out to the Walkman, right? If the Walkman came, I remember back in the, you know, when I was a little kid, having the tape deck, flipping it to record stuff. It popped, you know, putting the tape to try to,
taking the pencil going like this.
So, you know, we've come through a lot technologically, but now we could play music on our mobile, right? Back to 2007, the first iPhone came out, right? So we've got, and then on the money side, we used to all be like, cash is king. Now most people don't even have cash in their wallet or in their pocket. Most people are like, you know, pulling out their phones and using Apple Pay and things.
I had $20 for the past 3 weeks just sitting in my bag, like a $20 bill.
Don't even use it.
I don't even know where it's at.
It's still in there. And so, you know, we now using Apple Pay, even Apple Pay. If it wasn't for COVID, imagine a lot of us during COVID went digital. It was almost ostracized. You know, if you told someone to use cash, they're looking at you like, we don't accept cash in the store. And so, you know, we've seen the transition where cash was king, then it was like debit was king, then it was credit is king, and you know, now you have business credit, you're on a whole other level. You know, you're buying $1 million properties because you have good business credit, even if your personal credit is messed up. So this is the transition. So digital currency is the way of the future, because keep in mind, if you have Western Union or family back in the West Indies or West Africa or India, wherever in the world, you're using Western Union, there's delays, you got to go to the location, it's not that easy logging on online, there's delays in giving the payment to your family. With crypto, instantaneously, as you send it, they have it, the fees are minimized. The fees are way lower than Western Union, you know, not to put Western Union out of business.
I forgot about them. Now that you said that, I'm like, if you have family in stuff, you need that too.
So imagine now you could be in prison just getting crypto.
And they
do. It's, so, you know, so the money is way more accessible. So trust me when I tell you, this is not something that is here. This is the beginning phases. So when you see certain glitches and issues happening, this is all beginning phase. But don't be left out, because when we came to stocks, people of color were left out in the stock market. We're just now entering the game, and we're noticing the game is changing. We're getting on average 20 to 30, maybe even 40% return sometimes in the stock market. While now we've seen that kind of pulled back. And why wouldn't you want to enter something where, to give you an example, Solana last, you know, in fact, Ethereum went down to about $1,100 just less than a year ago. In less than 12 months, it's now already at triple, almost quadruple the value that it was a year ago.
So I think they put those rumors out, and especially it seems to go around our community a little more. And it's to kind of push us out so that we aren't on the wave, so that we aren't getting wealthy. And that's why I think it's important you have this Kids Who Bank. Okay, because this is starting to teach younger, and that's a problem that some of us had. We didn't have financial literacy when we were younger. Our parents didn't even have financial literacy. So now, as a child, how early should you start your child to learn about finances?
As soon as that kid starts to tell you, Mommy, I don't like the way this tastes, they can start learning about money. No, seriously, because kids
you can pay for the next meal.
You can pay for the next meal. You know what I mean? Well, kids are cheeky nowadays. This new generation, they're telling mommy what they want to eat for dinner. They're telling what apple juice they like. They want the $5 apple juice versus the $1 apple juice. They have their taste. And once your child starts to make requests as to what they can wear, what kind of kicks they want to have, then they should be learning how to budget, earn, and save. Yeah. Which is the first fundamentals that every human being should know, because your child is now officially a consumer, right? Before you're consuming for them, but once they get to the point where they start telling you what kind of Hot Wheels to buy for them, etc., then guess what? They need to start understanding that there's tax, and that Uncle Sam wants his tax no matter what, depending on what state you're in, and that there's a way that you have to earn it. There's a budget to these things, because money doesn't, even if it's technically made of trees, money doesn't grow on trees like that. So, and also even now these kids can play video games and actually make money playing video games. So we can no longer tell them you don't make money from playing games.
And they spend money playing the video games too.
They do, because these Robux, let me tell you. So, so with that said, how do we ensure that when they're doing that, they're learning how to code? They're actually coding the world in Roblox that other kids are playing. That way they can make money from people playing their games. And, so there's things like that we can do to just shift their mindset. Yeah. And you're never too young, because if you could play the game, you could do it.
I think that's the hardest thing, like getting into the mindset of that world if you're not already in that world, because you do want to pass on these values, these lessons and things of that nature. But if we as adults are not fully informed, it's kind of hard to say you should be doing that. Like, I don't even know what to tell my kids, you know what I mean? Because I'm not fully invested in that space and I don't have all the information.
The first thing I will tell you is when you're like budgeting for something like a big save, let's say you're getting a new house, a new car, include them in the process. And then instead of just giving them what they want, don't give in. Honestly, make them earn it. And if they don't earn it, just being like, yo, like here's a chart, something we were joking about charts earlier, but charts are really important with children, because when you can see what it is that you're doing, and you're holding yourself accountable as well. So start writing down what you're paying money on, and then telling your kids as well, like, hey, we're saving for a pool in the backyard. So that pool costs X, Y, and Z. So this month or this next year, we're gonna, instead of spending $100 in a supermarket, we're going to spend $70, so we can put that extra $30 towards the big goal.
So that's like teaching them the budget.
That's the budget part,
budget, but it includes them in the family as well, because we don't talk about money around the table enough, and other cultures do. And so that's one way I think we need to kind of like step up a little bit more, and even cooperatively investing, where it's like making it a partnership where you tell your kids, okay, this credit card, I'm gonna get this so I can help build your credit, right? Because maybe, and you could tell them, be honest, like, I didn't have X, Y, and Z, right? So one of my clients right now, he's an NFL player, and he has a kid, and he's like, when I went to college, they just gave me a card, and by the time I was 19, I was in debt.
Yep, happened to me.
He had like $12,000 in debt by 19. Wow. And so he's now teaching his kid, and I was like, well, just be honest. So we sat his kid down, we had like a round table, and he literally was like, hey, by the time I was 19, I had $12,000 of debt. It might not sound like that much to you now, but back then it was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do?
Right.
And he breaks down to his kid like, I'm getting you your allowance on a prepaid credit card so I can start building your credit, right? And then also we talked about compound interest and APR, right? Yeah. And so now his kid gets his allowance, and
that's
he tells
how I built my credit, a prepaid credit card. I messed up my credit
Don't
too
sleep
in
on
college.
a prepaid. Yeah. Don't sleep on a prepaid credit card.
But then I messed up, because once it was paid up, I was like, just give me my money back, because I was still spending recklessly, and I was like, I'm gonna mess my credit up again, but that still ended up messing up my credit.
Because if you close your card, then they take away, they deduct a lot of points.
Yeah, they did.
Ain't that crazy?
It is.
I'm like, that's my own money. How dare you?
It's corporate bullying.
Yeah,
it is. At its finest.
But okay, so that makes me think of this. So you're on the ABC documentary Our America and the Black, right? So you deal with all different kind of people, I would assume, black and white and Asian and whatever. But what's the number one mistake that you see us making as black people when it comes to finances?
Being afraid to invest. Black people, I know people are holding $100K and they're underneath their bed. I know athletes and rappers who have 300,000.
No, I'm joking.
I know, and then, shout out to everybody. You gotta do what you're comfortable with until you grow, right? But I know rappers, like I knew one rapper in particular, he had 300,000 in his regular Chase bank account. And I was like, fam, it's in one account. You do realize that in a regular savings account that you have, the FDIC only protects 250,000. I was like, what does that mean? I'm like, that means that extra 50,000 you have in there, there that is not protected. So if someone came and hacked your account, the FDIC and the bank by law only has to give you back $250,000. So and then as well, the regular bank account is giving you 0.03 to 0.09% on your money. Whereas if you even put it in the S&P 500, it averages 8% on the S&P 500 stock market, right? So the S&P, which is looking at ETFs, mutual funds, etc., can give you 8% per year, and you have an account that's giving you 0.03 to 0.09% on your money. Doesn't make sense. Yeah. So like myself, I invested in a Black-owned bank, Redemption. Shout out to them. Like the reason why I invested in that bank was like because they had higher returns for their banker, for people that bank with them, and as well like they had their own in-house SBA lending. Most SBA lending, how that works for Caucasian banks, they only have to allocate a small percentage towards Black and brown people, which means Black people are grouped with Indians and Asians and everybody else, all other cultures. Right. And so when you have a Black-owned bank that is now in the game with SBA lending, we can allocate more to Black and brown people. And so
that
when I
means
look
more
at
Black businesses, Black houses, Black
entrepreneurship,
entrepreneurship,
and so you still have to qualify, but now you have a better chance at something being allocated to you. And I say that because once again, it's investing, because you could do all the saving you want, but with inflation, if the cost of eggs, we saw all these moves about eggs and memes about eggs and milk.
Right.
I mean, milk used to be $1 for a gallon. Now it's $8 for a gallon.
Yeah, it's hard out here.
You know
it's
what
hard.
I mean? And so this is in less than 30 years I've seen that inflation. So if you're just saving, you might not even have enough to retire.
Right.
It's true. Remember they used to pay a nickel for stuff. I ain't seen a nickel in ages.
The penny candy stores. I remember as a kid, you give me $1 going to the penny candy store. I was balling.
You can't even get any candy with $1 right now.
None. No, you probably can't get it with $2, to be honest with you.
Nah, yeah, $2 even, right? Oh.
So let me ask you this. So
that makes me want M&M.
Obviously, there's a lot of different ways that you can invest, right? So let's say if somebody had, because I was just told the other day, like I have a house, right, and I have equity in it, right. So let's say, what's better, to have $100,000 in equity in the house, take it out, put it into an account like you just mentioned, put it into the stock market? What would you say is a good starting point for somebody that might be in that situation?
The first thing I will say is I think there is good debt and there's bad debt. If your house is paid off and your house is doing very well, or you have $100,000 in equity in the house, my thing would be first, you never know when there's a rainy season. I wouldn't necessarily suggest you doing that. I would say be more patient first and build up your like business credit and your personal credit. And the business credit in particular, because in America, business credit goes far. So I would probably tell you more like, if you know you're investing in something that can give you a sure return, then I would tell you build your business credit, get a loan that's a 1 to 2% loan in that mannerism, and take that and utilize that to flip. But your house should always be your last, because that's your home, right? And that's my personal opinion. You want to always have a place to rest your head. And also keep in mind, like if your personal credit isn't good, it's really hard to pull out equity on your property as well. I'm not saying that yours isn't, but most people don't think about that. So just even that. And so when you have, like, let's say subpar, like if your credit score is 680, 700, they'll hit you with a higher interest rate just because of that. So I would also say, once again, if you build that up before you do take out the loan, then they might give you a good deal, like where it's like you have 2 years to build out this money with a 2% interest rate on the 2 years, and you have minimum payments. In a situation like that, I'm not mad at it. But then there's also credit cards that would be like, you can make minimum entry with no interest at all for 18 months. Something like that, I would rather utilize that to build.
Right.
And then with a business credit, you can do no personal guaranteed loans and credit cards, right? What that means is that if you, right now, credit score, the way it works, this country wants you to use only like 15% or less of your credit. So they want you to use your credit each month and then pay back 85% of it every month.
Right.
And so because the laws have changed, one of the things that some people use is like when you use business credit, let's say that doesn't report to your, if it's not a personal guarantee card, which means it doesn't report to your personal credit score, you could have a $250,000 credit card, take $200,000 of that and buy another property, right? Or invest in a crypto, stock markets, whatever you're investing in, flip something, whatever, buy cars and flip them, whatever your preference is. And now while you buy art and diversify, and by the time you have to pay it off, guess what? Your personal credit score was never hit by that.
Never even hit. That's crazy.
Ooh, we done learned so much. You done dropped some gems.
Dr. J came with the heat today.
Listen, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that want to reach out to you after hearing you, because you are a hustler of the month. We changed our mind.
Hey, yo.
We changed our mind. Hustler of the Month. You
For
are
sure.
wrapping up
Thank you.
Women's History Month for
That's
us
right.
as well.
That's right.
So
Thank
where
you.
can the people find you, follow you, and they're gonna be knocking your door down now, child.
Thanks.
Thank you. Shout out to you guys as well for having me. Thank you. So find me on Instagram predominantly at Jatali Bellanton. So JATALI BELLANTON, and it's verified. So if someone with an unverified page comes to ask you for money, fam, it's not me. Don't come looking for me. But on that note, as well, Twitter, all the other social media platforms, and I'll be speaking at InvestFest this year again.
Yeah.
So shout out to them.
Congratulations on
thank
that.
Y'all get y'all tickets. That's in Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's going
It's in
down.
Atlanta, going down, and we love Atlanta energy. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, and she's also giving lessons on the accent too. So if y'all need to learn how to
She's
speak,
not.
Boy, no, I am not.
Y'all can't afford
I
that.
came into the office. We were talking about Top Boy and things. I'm like, look, I don't walk with them kind of street creds. I don't want people running up on me. I'm not about that life.
for sure. Now, thank you for being here today. We appreciate you, man. Dr. J is a hustler of the month. How about that?
Yeah.
Someone to hustle.
Excited.